Welcome to a special RadioRadioX music video interview. I am your host, Justin Smulison, proud contributor here at RadioRadioX. As you can see, I am joined by two guests today, both of whom are solo artists and they are collaborators, and we're going to bring them together for one dynamic conversation. We've got trumpet master Mac Gollehon, whose new album, Mac Gollehon and the Hispanic Mechanics Pistoleros, is out now from World Funk Orchestra. You are hearing a clip from Pistoleros right now called Sign It. And then we've also got Dave Brenner from GridFailure, which is one of the wildest collections of sounds I've ever heard. GridFailure has a ton of releases out there. The newest is the 6th Mass Extinction Skullduggery 3, which is available from Nefarious Industries. And as you can see just above me, GridFailure and Mac have collaborated. So this is going to be a really fantastic interview. We're going to learn about how these two worlds, they collide, but they also mesh. It's going to be fantastic. Let's get to it. RadioRadioX.com audiences worldwide, please welcome Dave Brenner and Mac Gollehon. As you can see, we've got some very dire album titles, but gentlemen who are very positive and optimistic. And so we're going to go around the room and have everybody introduce themselves. Dave, let's start with you.
David Brenner, GridFailure.
All right. And Mr. Mac, say hello.
Hello, Mac Gollehon here.
There he is. And now, just to let everybody know, I met Mac a couple of years ago when his prior album came out. And remind everybody, that was Bite of the Street, right?
Right.
Great album, and I was a fan of Mac's prior to that. I got some of his discography right here.
Wow,
and
look at that.
Yeah. We took some strolls down memory lane last time we talked. So there used to be a really cool music store near me in Long Island over here in Rockville Center, and they had a great jazz section. And when I saw that you did, I guess you played it live at the Blue Note, I said, oh, I want to hear that guy. And this was like 15 years ago when I bought this album. And it always stuck out, and your music always appealed to me. So that leads me to why Dave's here, because you have collaborated with Dave and GridFailure.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So let's start there, right in the middle, and then we'll kind of branch out. How did the two of you meet, and how did you know it would be a good collaboration? I don't mean a good collaboration like it's going to sound good, but how'd you know it would be the right collaboration for you?
Well,
We met through take it, Mac. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I talk about Dave can tell you about the way we met in a minute, but right away when we talked, the energy was there, energy level was there, good communication, and I could see his head was in the right place and everything conceptually and all that place, and I was looking to do some different stuff entirely from what I was doing prior to this, and looking at the branch, and that was definitely different. And totally different. And I saw the head was in the right place, energy in the right place. I went to the studio, the compound, and we did some stuff the very first day, and that it just kind of took off from there. Dave could tell you the rest, how we met and everything too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I imagine you met at a dark club or something like that.
Yeah. It was a burial. We were at a mass burial, and at midnight.
Oh yeah, I remember that place was called Coffin Dust, right?
They still owe you a check. It was actually a work connection. A mutual contact of ours was working with Mac and didn't really know what to do with him, coming from like this jazz background or whatever. Yeah. And we started working. It was initially to talk about promo work or something, I think, and he just said about how he wanted to work with get into a different type of music, different type of recording, different type of everything or whatever at that point. So yeah, like Max said, he just came out here. Ben from Megalopho, who I collaborate with a lot, He's like a live GridFailure member. He's recorded on most of the records I have collaborators on. We've done 3 collaborative records together, with the 4th one being finished now. So yeah, Ben's one of my most collaborated with people ahead of Mac, and now Mac's pretty much in that category too. Because yeah, like he said, we just kind of got on the same tip. He's, you know, this dude's been in, like, you watch the Billy Ocean video, get out of my dreams, get into my car, Onyx,
Yeah.
Let's Dance is on the radio, 1,000 times a day, no matter what station. It's, and this dude's on that stuff, and he wanted to come out here and hang out in this, in my garage, and like he was just instantly into it. And this guy's recorded everywhere in the world. Why would you want to come to this joint in the heat wave? And well, whatever. We've collaborated on all this stuff. We collaborated on that record during on this album during the pandemic, so that was all remote. That record was.
This one's called is this Dismemberment Cabaret?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And the thing that's just to set the vibe here, to cue everybody in, for anybody who doesn't know, I think a lot of people are going to know Mac. A few less might know GridFailure. So what together, and I don't say that obviously with any. He's shaking. Dave's shaking his head. Yeah, he's like, yeah, of course. GridFailure is not 4-chord rock. It's not jazz. It's this very. It's almost like a giant sonic experiment of sounds and voices, and maybe like an instrument falls on the ground and it sounds cool, and you use that, and that becomes part of the experience. It's experiential. And when you throw a seasoned musician like Mac in there, it brings another element to it. That's what I know what you're going for, but that's certainly what I take away from it. And it's haunting, right? It's supposed to stay with you and give you the chills a little bit.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a bit disturbing, like seeing maggots come out of your refrigerator or something like that. But what a real
we have
a
Diet of Maggots is one of the songs on the record. So
that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and when we talked about some of these things, we actually talked about those visual kind of contexts. We actually spoke about these things before we even cut these things in the hallway, and what kind of visual effect it gave. And we had about 3 or 4 different names for this record, all went in the same kind of a mindset. They were in the same kind of a visual concept, but that's how we came up with the end result of the name as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very odd to record this one because it was during the pandemic, and this was in the serious lockdown front end of it, because New York shut down first on the East Coast. The first outbreak of COVID is 15 minutes across the river from us in New Rochelle or whatever. It was pretty immediate here, and so I remember seeing Mac and I just started within a year or 2 before that with this steady collaborative thing, and we had all these plans of recording something out here, but we didn't really have an idea yet. So he had contributed to a bunch of my records and stuff at that point. We had done a bunch of work, but we wanted to do some larger body of, combined work.
Yeah.
And so during the pandemic, Mac was just kind of, he was posting clips on Instagram and everything, just playing in his stairwell, just playing trumpet for his neighbors because everybody was locked in. We couldn't buy lettuce and toilet paper and bread, and it was like doomsday on the news, and it was just, really dark. And he's got a lot of artists and people like that in the building. So he would just go in his hallway and just play for the building every day, and was, running up and down stairways and stuff, just working out and whatever, and just kind of doing stuff in these stairwells. And I was here in this bunker, pretty secluded from everybody. And we just started, I was just like, hey, since we can't do this, because we were like, maybe we could chance it. We're like, yeah, that's stupid. Let's just, we were still waiting. There was no vaccines or anything yet. It was still, refrigerator trucks in the city full of bodies and stuff. It was gnarly at that point. So I said, hey, that stuff you're doing in the hallway is great. It's not the best sound quality. It's not what we would go for, otherwise. But, hit it. Just start recording stuff out there like that. He would send me all these little video clips, and then I would just mesh them into stuff that I was working with here, and would send mixes back and forth. And that was it. It was completely recorded remotely. So
right. Because I remember watching a video with Mac just sitting in a corridor or a hallway or maybe on some steps just playing. And
that was it. Yeah,
that must have been it. Yep. Yeah.
I made videos from those clips. I made the official videos. I think we have 3 or 4 or 5 maybe videos for that record that I made. And most of the clips were those direct clips from which we pulled the audio to mix into the record. Like I used the clips for the video stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the new Mac Gollehon and the Hispanic Mechanics album is out now. Just came out.
Yeah, and September the 12th. Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's called Pistoleros, and you know, it might be a little tough to see, at least from my vantage point. I'm going to make it nice and clear later. But who's on the album cover with you there, Mac?
Yeah, that's a pretty wild album cover, because that is a still shot from the video that we did in a famous jazz club in Manhattan. That's Vinny from The Sopranos, Big Pussy.
Vincent Pastore, right?
That's right. Yeah, and he's in it, and that's Killer Joe right across from him. Killer's been he's been like a character actor in a whole bunch of like gangster films and stuff. That's the genre, and those guys were great. We just had the idea to let's imitate like a card game concept where this crazy trumpet player who's out of his mind risks his whole career and puts his whole career on the line over a game of blackjack. And actually he played against himself. There was nothing for him to get anyway. It was just insane. And then said, let's bet on your career and your record contract. I said, sure, why not? It's like, and then the whole thing plays off from there. It's like the intensity of the card game. Oh man, we had modern day auteur, whose name is Will, who did the video shoot. He did the concept, did quite a bit of the scripting as well, and a major part of it. And we just came up with a concept. He brought the cards, he brought the fake pistol, the whole bit, all of this stuff, and set it up. He did a meticulous job with the lighting. The lighting in this video was spectacular, and did a great job filming it. Directing it was pretty much, he was directing the photography, and I'll give credit for direction mostly to Vincent Pastore. As far as a lot of the ideas, he didn't want credit and he didn't want to get involved. He said, look, don't you think you won't ask me to direct this thing? I said, okay, don't worry. We got it under our belts here. Right. Don't worry about it. He said, all right, no, here's what you do. Here's what you do. So as soon as we said that, he would like put his 2 cents in, and it was always right. And we had some great concepts. We shot some exterior shots that were really cool too. The way the video was set up toward the end, Big Pussy playing the part. He's actually playing the part of the Bay Parkway Snake.
Yes,
that's his character in this thing, and just a vicious gangster. He in all the snippets, he takes over the club. He makes all kinds of like side deals. They show him one video where he's like doing this crazy stuff. All these people he killed in the past out in the street, out in Bay Parkway. And then they had videos of me walking through the kitchen doing like a fast rap thing, and for Killer Joe Zillionario. And that was his character, Killer Joe Zillionario. So it was really just a mix-up of bizarre characters. And
they all have songs. They all have their own dedicated songs on the album.
They all got the theme song. Atiba Powers, who was the owner of the club at that time where we shot in Minton's, which has a rich history. It was Minton's Playhouse back to the bebop era and the swing era, even before that. And a real mixed batch of characters. I mean, just a crazy matchup of characters. And it really came off. It really came off as a great concept. The music was done. The music changed a little bit because of the film, the couple of edits made after that. So we just made everything work, and it really fit nicely. It really did.
Excellent. It's a great follow-up to Bite of the Street, which I loved.
Thanks.
And just to cue everybody in, because Dave mentioned it earlier, yes, you played with David Bowie.
Right.
And I think look at the range. David Bowie and Onyx, you played on Slam.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about that last time. I'm going to see Onyx open up for Biohazard in a couple of weeks. So I'll tell them that you said hello and thank them for all the royalties that I'm sure that you've gotten for that song.
Man, that one I had to chase the money down to get paid on that one. That was a transition time for record companies and everything. That's when actually real gangsters took over the record companies.
Wow.
Doing the whole rap scene and all that. I had to chase my money down for that one, but I got it. I wound up putting a guy's head in the car door.
Oh yeah.
And slammed the door on his hand. And then he called the record company and said, "Pay this guy, give him money."
Yeah, and there you go. So you very took it literally and slammed him.
Yeah.
And then so when you've got, but Mac, and then I want to bring this back to your collaborations with Dave and what he does. At what point did you say, I want to do something completely different? I want to not abandon jazz and not abandon the Latin influence, but just go in another direction and maybe to a slight degree rebrand my sound?
Well, I've always felt like this, and for 35 or 40 years, my music has a nod to the past, but also in a way, a polite, courteous fuck you as well. And basically, that's what it is. I mean, okay, that's done. The past is done. That's gone by. A hell of a lot of people did it right the first time, so you're not going to just sit back and regurgitate that,
right?
And just bring that back in a little box for them, and then open the box up and say, "Hey, look what I got." I never did like that idea. That's why when I first came to New York, I came here not with an intention of playing in the studio. I came here to play with some of the jazz masters at the time that were still around. But they were starting to disappear too by the early 80s. And then one thing led to another, and I accidentally built a recording career as a sideman playing on a lot of recording sessions.
Yeah.
And then as well, I was doing my music all along, and I actually didn't really start recording any of my music until on my own name up to around 1996, which is that first record you have there. And I started then. It was different. It was different to even get on the radio. The servicer told me, you got to come up with 3 radio no, actually the blue one.
Oh yeah, this one.
That one, right.
Mm-hmm. Smoking cigarette.
Yeah, the radio servicer was saying, "Hey, we can get you on the radio if you do 3 songs that are smooth jazz." Okay, so I did 3 songs that were smooth jazz, and this is pre-Chris Bodie, any of that stuff, for any of that. And Rick Braun was the big guy then, and then they were looking for another guy like that. So I did 3 like that. This lady got me signed with a really good label, and then she got fired before we got the contract in ink. But anyway, it was working out. She got fired before that happened. And then I'm stuck with a smooth jazz record that was getting high revolutions, high spins, and the high spins on the smooth jazz thing. Then I wanted to break that right away, because if I wanted to do a smooth jazz record, I didn't want to be associated with any of that. So I did live at the Knitting Factory, which is about as far from smooth jazz as you're going to get, just to make sure I get myself out of that. And then after that, the Blue Note Club was looking for people. They realized the older guys were dying off, and some of the legends were dying off or getting really old. So they were taking on some younger guys, which I fit that mold. So I am a bunch of other guys. There you go. That's funny. And we did that record, and it was all fairly straight ahead jazz. But once again, for me, it wasn't that straight ahead because it really had a hard edged element to it. Very, very hard edged element to it. WBGO played it, and a bunch of jazz stations played a couple of cuts. But then I did reversion of Jimi Hendrix, Cream. I did some rehashes of like rock and roll stuff, so it still had a very heavy-handed influence for jazz.
Yeah.
Because the jazz scene had become very tepid. So I never made one of those really tepid kind of jazz records. The closest one I came to it would have been Odyssey of Nostalgia, which I made an attempt to water the thing down as far as repertoire into Depression-era songs. So the Depression-era songs are included in that. Brother Can You Spare a Dime, Nightmare, Two Sleepy People, all of these songs. It was definitely an American songbook Depression-era thing. So that's what we did. It was still just a little bit far to the left of some of the station programming for jazz. So then that's when I decided that I did a legacy album with all giants from the 80s, board tapes. That was the other one you had up a minute ago, La Fama.
Oh, yeah, it's a great album.
Yeah, thank you.
Neck bones, right. I love that one. That's a great one.
That was a remake of a Willie Bobo song back
Yeah.
in 1967, I think. Spanish Grease. It was like from Puerto Rican Harlem at the time. And Pucho and the Latin Soul Brothers, who I also played with, that was like all those guys were playing that kind of stuff. Live board tapes featuring just nothing but giants from the 70s and 80s of the Latin scene. So I put that record out just because it was what it was. It got nominated. It got nominated for Best Historical for a Grammy nomination. And then after that, it was just another record that was can't remember what it was right now. It was a really good one. Mac Straight Ahead.
Okay.
And it was a one-man big band, basically. It was me playing all the instruments except for drums and bass.
And you do that on Pistoleros too, right? You play almost all the instruments?
Ended up doing that. I ended up doing that again, except for there was a guy that played some bass on one track, Greg Meisenberg, and then also he played guitar on another track.
Drums on the track.
He played drums on actually two tracks now. He did some overdubs on another one.
Drums and bass on one track.
Yeah.
Drums on another track. Yeah.
Right.
Guitar on a track.
But other than that, of course, Dave did sound effects on a couple of songs. The Signed a Contract.
It was just the one song.
Yeah. No, I had a feeling that would have been the one because it just says sign the contract.
Right.
And and it's so Dave, what are you doing like a million takes of that and then throwing it in there and making it fit?
I believe they were in the studio 90% done with this record, at least in its current, because they had recorded this whole record and then kind of like re-recorded it with this whole concept or something, I think, Mac. Right, Mac? He started like kind of revamping it and whatever. So he was already in the studio with the other Dave, and he was just like, just send me something, whatever. And I just sent like, I don't know, a Dropbox with 8 or 10 random clips, synth sounds, and just noise washes and whatever, just for them to go play with and manipulate. I wasn't actually writing anything. I just kind of sent some random clips because they were going to make this sort of sound collage, snap it together sort of thing out of it. So I didn't even remember what I sent until I heard the song, and I was like, yeah, that's the song I'm on. I didn't have the credits at that point. I just was hearing the masters, and I was like, yep, that's it.
So you provided the I Am Groot to that record, right?
Yeah, whatever's going on in the background there's just some washes, and I think Dave was probably running those through plugins or filters or whatever. Anyway, I think some of the stuff was like turned into beats and just totally processed beyond what it sounded like. It was more like providing just some extra, potatoes and some more supply, to the chef, and they were cutting it up. I wasn't, I never had to do with writing or anything on that one. We've worked together in so many different ways at this point. The shirt that Mac's wearing, the end is the beginning. We recorded the entire thing out here after our collaboration came out, before Fight of the Street, because we still couldn't get vinyl made. Nefarious was still holding up. Oh, Greg that he mentioned that played on the Pistoleros record is Greg from Nefarious Industries, who released the Dismemberment Cabaret record, the Bite of the Street record, the one we're talking about here, The End is the Beginning, that's Max, the shirt that Max got. So that one was supposed to be just a little tide me over. I was like, hey, why don't you come out and we'll just make some kind of, like, I figured we would do some ambient stuff. I would take some rain and fire and wind and just some samples, some stuff I like to do with like found sound and nature recordings and field recordings and stuff, and kind of do something like that, where Mac would just play this like sexy, bluesy, dark stuff over it. We'd just knock out 3 songs so we had something to drop before we were ready to get into promotion for Bite of the Street that was already sitting there for a year or two at that point. And Matt comes out, and instead of just showing up with a trumpet, he comes in and he sets down a trumpet and 2 trumpets and a trombone and goes, all right, what do you got? You got a drum kit? You got any synthesizers? What are we doing here? And just start setting shit up. And I was like, I thought you were just going to record some trumpet. He's like, no. Yeah. He starts pulling out sheet music and writing, pages of notes and everything. And he was like, we're doing this Lalo Schifrin and Dirty Harry thing. We're doing this dirty cop shit. We're doing this dark ass, motel murder stuff. I was like, all right, whatever. Yeah. So I had no idea what I was getting. I had never recorded somebody else's record before. So all of a sudden I'm really having to like figure out how to clean up and get clean sounds of these trumpets and everything else. And he had me recording 40 40 layers of brass on one song. And then we'd hear a noise and be like, where is that? Oh, it's on one of those trumpet tracks. Just go figure it out. And I'm like, what are you
one of the 40?
55 layers in this one track here already. And nothing's labeled. Like, yeah, that was and that was like during a heat wave. He came out here like 3 sessions, and it was like 90 some degrees each one of those days, and turning off all the fans and everything. And yeah, that was a brutal set, but it ended up coming out with this, again, very specific concept, Bronx motoring and, turn it up, motherfucker, or something like that.
Yeah.
Sackett Street Racket. It was like this whole kind of gangster image. And he had Vincent Pastore, again, Big Pussy. He had him in a video for that one too, out putting a gun in his mouth on the street in the Bronx. And
that's wild, man.
Yeah.
So Mac, for somebody who's, jazz is known for improv. You're not improvising a whole hell of a lot. You've got your notes together. You know what you want and how you're going to execute it, right?
Yeah. And David Maurice did a hell of a job on his Pistoleros thing with the engineering. He really did a great job, and he had a bunch of stuff from his sessions, some stuff that he'd never used. And there he is. And he had some stuff that he had some stuff that he had never used before. And we chopped up a bunch of like really, really like wild drum tracks and a bunch of stuff. And I had a lot of pages. A lot of people would come to my gigs. There was a guy played with me one time, and I was teaching this guy every day. We were getting together, and I was teaching him all these scales that I use. I have a whole system of scales that I use, bitonal, atonal scales, all kinds of stuff, that I use. And all right, this is how we're going to construct our melodies, is using this system. And I worked with a guy. So then he said, we really need a guitar player. So I said, well, okay. So they brought this one guy that came in that sounded kind of like Joe Satriani or something, right? I said, no. That's not the idea. I told, got to find somebody that reads, So I would teach these various people the scales and stuff. And, all of a sudden it made musical sense.
Mm-hmm.
It all made really musical sense. It gives you a lot of freedom. But then a lot of those guys couldn't make it all the time that really read. They were on the road. So they asked this one guy, I said, well, yeah, Mac needs a guitar player. Well, what do you guys do? You guys just get up there and wing it or what? He's, yeah, don't worry about it. I said, no, that ain't going to work. So I played that gig with just me and drums.
Wow.
So then that kind of thing evolved into the point where, okay, if I can't find guys that can read and that can read all the notes that I want on this stuff with these scales, I started doing a lot of gigs with just drums, horn and drums.
Amazing.
And that's developed into a whole other thing lately too. And that's going to be present a lot. I mean, an awful lot at this gig on November 5th at the Francis Kite Club, where we'll do like a video and album launch thing. And we'll do that on the 5th. Mm-hmm.
You got the Francis Kite Club I've never heard of it, but they're in New York. They're in the East Village.
Yeah, 40 Avenue C.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a nice room, really nice room. They started out as a community kind of place. It developed like that. They artists, poets, musicians, people just coming in, a lot of folk and stuff, and then it's evolved into like more of a hot spot to play a lot of different kinds of acts. So we're gonna have a really good show there. Excellent. And it's gonna be heavily leaning toward the percussion thing on that, which I'm getting more and more involved in as it goes. And I can see this is an ever-morphing thing, really, this Hispanic mechanics.
Yeah.
And I see this thing going further and further into multiverse percussion.
Yeah.
I played a couple of shows with these guys, and he's got some of the best drummers on the planet, playing up there. And I come up with a couple of, pedal boards full of, just noise and garbage and shit. And it's just, I don't really get stage fright or anything necessarily, but that was a little bit like, I'm out of my element here with these like incredible drummers and it's just like, nah, just lean into it. And even with that, it's a lot of, like, I was improvising, but I was basically becoming a percussive element, like using what I'm doing, but basically just using vocals and doing more of a Mike sort of thing, a skittery vocal, whispery, sort of like rhythmic thing that was just kind of pumping with these sick drummers. And Mac would go around and point at each guy, and my turn, and I would just like start screaming or whatever, like I would even do, just have no idea what, you know what I mean, or just start twisting pedals a little more, or you know what I mean, and just doing a lot of this rappy whispering stuff and everything. So, and that was just, at the end of that, it was just like, that was like incredible fun, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's lightning in a bottle right there. You can't replicate that, right?
No.
I mean, there's no, like, I'm not using any scales. I can't read music. I can't, read sheet music. I can't read, I can barely read tablature. Like, I'm more about feeling and instinct or whatever. And it was just fun to just go up there and do something completely out of my element live. You know what I mean? It's like Mac said, when you're just stripped down to this basic, percussion and trumpet thing, you can kind of add and flesh anything else out in between there. You could have, more cinematic elements or synth elements or, just samples. I mean, you could really go anywhere with it and just leave that core sound there and rip, It's so entertaining to watch. It's just all energetic and, the guys he has playing rhythm, playing drums and everything, it's so...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those guys are sick players. They got Anthony Carrillo, who's played with a lot of people. Eddie Palmieri, he's got his own thing, Yamawa, and we played together. Yeah, and the Asian Iron Man. And then Elvis Ferrara from Cuba, who's an incredible percussionist and also a ballet dancer, jazz and ballet dancer as well. Yeah. And just incredible musicians. They're not just drummers; they're like all-around musicians. Really well versed in what they do, and several kind of elements of music: funk, Latin, basic diaspora, Cuban, just a wide plana, everything, dance, the whole bit.
Now, I gotta ask Dave. You said you can read tablature. What instruments do you play, or could you play?
I've mostly been a bass player in punk hardcore bands. I mean, that's my main thing. I like the sort of Cliff Burton bluesy style. I like, super like ripping, triple picked hardcore D beat sort of stuff. I like play, and then just like, finger tapping a little bit and whatever. I'm not very good at anything, but I play some guitars. I've got, I'm always playing acoustic guitar. I've got, drum machines, several drum kits, all kinds of random hand drums and percussion. I use really anything in GridFailure. And it's like, even if I'm not playing some written choreographed piece or whatever, I'm using bits and samples in sound collage I do a lot of stuff in more kind of the way you would make a hip hop record.
Right.
Than a jazz record, I guess, in some ways, because I'll take a certain thing and loop it for a percussive element, for a drum, for a driving beat or whatever, if there's not an actual drummer or beat made for it. I do random things like that. So it's more about just using space and sound and tension and everything in all of it. So that's why it's so fun when Mac, working together with him, because, he can come in and trumpet and didgeridoo and trombone and he comes in with these pieces from like 1914 and just all this like random crazy instruments and everything else, and it's like, then I'll be like, all right, cool, let's I'll set up 16 distortion and delay pedals over here on a synth, and we'll just make something come out of it.
And you've got over 40 releases on Bandcamp as GridFailure or GridFailure collaborations, right? So
Yes.
You're just, I don't want to say that you're cranking them out, but you are.
Yeah.
You are.
I GridFailure hits 10-year anniversary in February.
Wow.
And I will at that point have closer to 50 records out on Bandcamp. A lot of it's not out on Spotify or any other things because it's I never really find, I mean, more of the more recent records have been up there, and I'm going to go back through and likely touch up, remaster, whatever, and release a lot of the stuff on the other channels, just because it's cool to show up, when you're promoting on social media and you have all access to your songs and everything. But I don't really, people complain about a Bandcamp fee here and there or whatever, but it's like, the $4 or $5 I might make off of one sale on Bandcamp is more than you can make on that song or album on Spotify in a lifetime. It's just ridiculous how it doesn't, those channels are good for promotional purposes and they'll end up in playlists or random stuff, but they don't do anything for, and not that this is about money in any way.
No, of course not.
I don't make stuff that's going to be digestible or sellable to literally 99% of any population of even extreme music. So I'm not expecting that, but it's nice when you can, turn around and buy stickers and shirts and, make tapes and whatever with it,
Right.
So
let me remind everybody that Bandcamp Friday, the last Bandcamp Friday of 2025 is going to be on December 5th. So head on over to Mac and GridFailure's pages and support them on that day. And, it's like putting a little tip in the tip jar, right? Just giving you a little extra bread so that Mac can have an extra Cuban, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's what he's got. I'm going to let you both go in a moment, but I did want to ask, are there plans for more collaborations?
Yep. I've got a stack of structures of songs here. Well, yeah, I mean, again, with all the records showing up here, my record just came out right after Max did, and he's on 3 or 4 songs of that one, I believe.
Right.
Max on a lot of the other stuff I have coming up, just other random records. But yes, we do have some more collaborative stuff in the works here that we just haven't really put a concept together for. And fleshed out, but there's a ton of stuff here. I mean, I've got tons and tons of stuff that Mac has recorded here, so we'll probably do several other releases, maybe something more like The End is the Beginning and some kind of Mac specific record that I produce and maybe take part in a little bit, like that one. And then I think something more like, definitely like Dismemberment Cabaret, where we're just going all out. Only this one, it won't be just Mac doing brass remotely. It's going to be us, doing the entire record probably here, So yeah, there's a lot of random stuff. We just haven't, I don't know, come up with a ridiculous title that we can just be like, that's the concept. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, speaking of ridiculous titles, your album, GridFailure's album, is Sixth Mass Extinction Skullduggery 3. That's
3.
That's this one over here. So if ever we've got a mouthful and something that's a little scary.
The box set is 1, 2, and 3. It's a set box set of all 3.
Yeah. And I think what I'm going to do, because this is going to hopefully come out right before Halloween, I'm just going to start blasting some of these scary collaborations out to the trick-or-treaters and see if it entices them to come and get the candy, or if it repels them and sends them the other way running.
My guess is you're going to have a whole basket of Reese's at the end of the night.
And that's good for me, because those are my favorite candies. So
works
that
out.
works out. Yeah. And it's really cool to finally get you both in the same virtual room.
Absolutely.
It's also worth mentioning, Dave, you run Earsplit PR.
Yep.
So
that's how we know each other. So that's why it's, I've seen you,
embedded
you
in
interviewed Mac and I don't know, countless other artists of, that I work with during the day. So that's why it's always fun to, get on the other side of, talking to people instead of just, coordinating them,
No, it's great, but you're in the mix. I love it. It's fantastic. And I really enjoy what the two of you do together and separately. And Mac, remind everybody, when are you going to be at the Kite Club, the Francis Kite Club?
Yeah, that's November 5th, and it's at 8:00 at night, and it's free admission. It's on Avenue C in Manhattan, and also Vinny Pastore is coming down for that too, and we're going to do a little talk about the making of the actual video and how that came about, and we're going to talk about the concept of how we did it, why we did it, as well as we'll be there, who did the photography and camera work as well. And David Maurice will be there also, who did the engineering and the co-production with me on the record as well. And it's going to be a killer event. And like I say, it's going to be leaning really, really heavy toward the heavy artillery with the percussion.
Yeah, that sounds wild. Okay, that's a free event. That's fantastic. The day after Election Day. Good to know. Yeah. All right.
Or as they say, if it's said in Tokyo one time, Erection Day.
Yeah. All right. Well, gentlemen, it has been a pleasure, and I will continue to stay in touch. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Great.
It was a lot of fun.
Good talking to you, Justin.
All right, man.
Special thanks again to Dave Brenner and Mac Gollehon for joining us here on Radio X. We played some clips from the new album from Mac Gollehon and the Hispanic Mechanics during this interview. Their new album, Pistoleros, is available worldwide from World Funk Orchestra. Also be sure to check out his last record, Bite of the Street. It was excellent. Now, Mac and the Hispanic Mechanics will be presenting Pistoleros live for no cover Wednesday, November 5th at 7:30 p.m. at the Francis Kite Club in Brooklyn. A link is on this episode show notes. Go check that out. Tell Mac that you heard and saw this interview here on RadioRadioX. Also, be sure to check out Mac's collaboration with GridFailure. That album is called Dismemberment Cabaret. It's available from Nefarious Industries. And of course, GridFailure itself has several releases. I think we said over 40. And most of those are from Nefarious Industries as well. We played some crazy clips. Sixth Mass Extinction Skullduggery, the third, is out now from Nefarious Industries. Always remember to make legitimate purchases of the music, merch, and tickets to support hardworking artists like Dave Brenner and Mac Gollehon. And if you want to wait until December 5th, that's Bandcamp Friday. Lots of their releases are available there, and support the artists directly on Bandcamp Friday. And head on over to RadioRadioX.com for all things music and entertainment. We've got reviews, interviews, and more coverage. I've got an interview with local drumming favorite Jason Bittner of Shadows Fall and Category 7. And another iconic metal drummer, Mark Zonder, formerly of Fate's Warning and now with Warlord and A through Z. And another with powerhouse drummer Sean Duncan of LA Guns. I've also got interviews with John Bush, the singer of Category 7 and Armored Saint, and Flotsam and Jetsam guitarist Michael Gilbert. My last interview was with Cowpay, that's instrumental metal from Florida. My good friend Robert Meid of Nighthawk, a two-part interview with Rick Sims of The Digits, and internationally acclaimed rock singer Ronnie Romero, and more. I'd like to thank Art and Rob and everyone over there at the Radio Radio X headquarters. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and all social channels. And be sure to keep coming back to RadioRadioX.com for more updates. I've got more video interviews on the way as well. I am Justin Smulison, new contributor here at Radio Radio X. Thank you so much for tuning in. There's more on the way.